Welcome to Reconcilor 9. This is the new look and feel of Snowden's flagship reconciliation and intelligence mining software, Reconcilor 9. What I'm showing you here is the continuum, which is usually the landing page of Reconcilor because it gives you that overall view of the mine value chain for your particular mine site. So here we can see we've got a resource model to a reserve model to a mining model through to mine production. So what's coming out of the pit, what's coming out of the underground. Mine delivered, what's being delivered to the crusher. Plant feed, what is being delivered to the plant. So maybe material is going through those coarse ore stockpiles, and then through to transport loading, product shipped, and we actually do customer received as well. So just to give us some navigation of the screens, we have a menu down the left-hand side. So we have a suite of analysis screens. We also have a suite of management screens. So you can actually have some control over the way that your screens are displayed in Reconcilor. We also have a dashboarding component, and I'll touch on that in a later video. But the dashboarding will essentially allow you to choose any configuration, that is any screen setup that you create, and publish it to a dashboard available to either yourself personally or to a global group of people. So when I'm talking about configurations, I'm talking about the way that you've actually set up your filters on a page and then how you've saved that configuration. So we can see here I've got a configuration called demo last month, and that's because I've saved it with a period filter of a survey period. I could have chosen a year, month, a custom range, or some quick links that we have put in, and we can customize those quick links to suit your site. But let's just say this particular period, I've chosen a survey period, and for my whole entire mine site. So I could go down through all the way down to block level if I wanted to. And then I've got the opportunity to look at ore and waste, or waste only. And in this demo suite, I've chosen to look at ore. And then we also have a measure type being a raw number, which is numbers coming directly from your data sources, or an adjusted number. So perhaps you've had a crusher weightometer and your haulage being delivered to that crusher not quite reconciling well. We do have the opportunity to do some rescaling on some of that raw numbers. But what we don't want to do is replace the raw numbers. So we will insist that you carry those raw numbers, and if you are making any kind of adjustments, we'll bring that in as an adjusted number. With the continuum, you do have the option to turn on and off attributes from the analysis side of things. So in this instance, I've chosen to look at tons, copper, and some of the other grades. And I could be looking at metal, I could be looking at density, whatever attribute, grade, quality that we bring into Reconcilor, we can choose to turn those on and off. And if I select any of the attributes here, you can see that the ribbons below and the waterfall chart are updated to give me some visuals around the differences between the two different numbers around any of the nodes on that mine value chain. So let's just go back up to the tons, because we're all familiar with tons. And we can see that the waterfall chart is showing me a large discrepancy between the mine production and the mine delivered. But that's usually the case because we have stockpiling in between that, what's coming out of the pit or the underground, and then what's being delivered to the crusher. So we expect to see some discrepancy between that mine production and that mine delivered. What Reconcilor will let you do as part of the mining analysis pages is to go in and look at those particular metrics, stockpiling and stockpile feed, and just make sure that you're on track for what the plan said. And that's any plan. The numbers that we're seeing on the in the middle here are the reconciliation comparisons. So again, I can call those comparisons anything I want, and let's just change that F1 and call it we'll call it resource to reserve, and we could look at that as a percentage change, a factor, or an absolute difference. So we'll look at that as an absolute difference and update that. And we can see now we've got a difference in tonnes and we've renamed it to resource to reserve. So the idea of this is to be able to see quickly how well you're reconciling compared to different components on the mine value chain. The waterfall chart is again just that easy visual so that you can see how things are going. If you see green differences, you can assume that everything's looking really good, and if it's red, perhaps it's low. It's poor variance. Now I have coloured this continuum up to be a traffic light coloured system. You can colour this up to be whatever you like. So if you've got pink, so your ultimate worst case scenario, then you could be showing this as pink. It's totally up to you. And that goes for the whole site. Anything that you choose to colour in your own instance, we can actually configure that. So I hope that's given you a bit of an insight just to the continuum. It's just sort of the snapshot of all of your data sources for a particular period and a particular location.